So, welcome to Jumbo IS and welcome to our lecture series called Daily MCQ Practice. In this lecture series, we cover a particular day's current affairs through a set of 4 to 5 MCQs. The idea is very simple. We want you to inculcate this habit of practicing MCQs from current affairs on a daily basis. This should be a daily habit of yours because through this daily habit, you would not only be able to revise your current affairs and consolidate them, you will also get the much needed MCQ practice. And this MCQ practice on a daily basis would really come in handy for your prelims examination whenever you have to appear for it. So make sure you are regular, consistent with this lecture series. Make it a daily habit of yours. All right, let's begin today's session, starting with question number 1. Consider the following statements regarding advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. It stems from Article 142 of the Constitution, which allows the President to ask for Supreme Court's opinion on certain matters. This provision is inspired from the power of presidential reference in the US Constitution. The opinion of the Supreme Court is binding on the President. Okay. So, advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court means that the President can ask for Supreme Court's opinion, Supreme Court's advice on any matter it refers to it. Okay. Now, this is covered under Article 143 of the Constitution, and this is what we call advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Okay. So, this statement would have been correct if Article 143 was written over here. Okay. It is written 142, which is false. So, first statement is false. Okay. Now, this provision is inspired from the power of presidential reference in US Constitution? Absolutely not. It is basically inspired from Government of India Act 1935, which was operational in India before independence. So under Government of India Act 1935, the Governor General of India could ask for the opinion of federal court on any matter it could refer to it. Okay. So this provision, this Article 143 has been taken or inspired from Government of India Act 1935, not from USA. So this is also false. Now this is advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court, and the nature of advice is that advice is different from order. Okay. Order is binding in nature, advice is not binding in nature. So how can this be binding on the President? If President is just asking for Supreme Court's opinion, how can it be binding on the President? It is not binding on the President. This is also false. So no statement is correct. The answer would be none. D. Question number 2. Consider the following statements regarding RBI's economic capital framework. It is a framework that decides the distribution of RBI's profits between contingency risk buffer and dividend transfer to the government. Bimal Jalan Committee recommended surplus transfer to the government to the tune of 5.5 to 6.5% of RBI's balance sheet. Higher dividend payout by RBI helps government in managing fiscal deficit and improve liquidity. Okay. So what is RBI's economic capital framework? Look, RBI earns some profit. Now, some of this profit is put in a fund. Okay, this is RBI's emergency fund. So in future, if there is a crisis, financial stability crisis, this fund will be used to manage that crisis. Okay, so this is RBI's emergency fund. The technical name for it is contingency risk buffer. And the rest of the money, rest of the surplus, is transferred to the government as dividend. Okay. Now, economic capital framework decides, it is basically a set of rules that decide how much of the profit, how much percentage of the profit would go to contingency risk buffer and how much percentage would be transferred to the government. Okay. So first statement is correct. It is the framework that decides the distribution of RBI's profit between CRB and dividend transfer. Absolutely correct. Now in 2018, RBI formed a committee under Bimal Jalan. The Bimal Jalan Committee made some recommendations with respect to economic capital framework. Okay, It submitted its report in 2019, and in August 2019, RBI accepted all the recommendations of this report. As per Bimal Jalan Committee, okay, 5.5 to 6.5% of RBI's balance sheet shall be put in capital contingency risk buffer. Okay, not transferred to the government. 5.5 to 6.5% of RBI's balance sheet would be kept in CRB. Okay, in this statement it is written 5.5 to 6.5 will be transferred to government. No, it will be kept in CRB. So this is false. Now, if RBI decides to transfer more money to the government, well, it definitely helps the government to manage its fiscal deficit, definitely. And it also gives the government with the money to increase liquidity in the market. So, third statement is correct. 1 and 3. C. Question number 3. Which of the following statements are correct regarding 2022 Delhi Declaration? So it was adopted by UN Security Council's 1267 Sanctions Committee to counter terrorism. The declaration emphasizes on the use of new and emerging technology by terrorist groups. It also outlines guiding principles for member states to counter the threat of tech use by terrorist outfits. So look, United Nations Security Council has many committees for terrorism. 1267 is one such committee, but there is another committee called Committee on Counter-Terrorism or Counter-Terrorism Committee. Okay, so United Nations Security Council has a different committee called Counter-Terrorism Committee. Now, they were conducting a summit in 2022 in Delhi. And the result of that summit is known as Delhi Declaration. Under that summit, it was found that, well, new age terrorists are using some new and emerging technologies to conduct their operations. So therefore, the countries need to cooperate to fight this use of new technology by terror outfits. They need to be prepared, right? That's what's mentioned in Delhi Declaration. So first statement is false because it was not adopted by 1267 Sanctions Committee. It was adopted by CTC, Counter Terrorism Committee. Yes, second statement is correct because it discussed the role of new and emerging technology, and it also outlined some principles for countries to follow so as to tackle use of technology by terrorist outfits. So this is also correct. The answer is 2 and 3. And last but not the least, again with respect to presidential reference. So consider the following statements regarding presidential reference under Article 143. The Constitution requires any such presidential reference to be heard by a bench of 5 judges. The Supreme Court has the authority to decline giving its opinion to the presidential reference made under Article 143. The Supreme Court can overturn its previous ruling through the presidential reference under Article 143. So by now you all know what Article 143 is. It is the advisory jurisdiction presidential reference. Okay. Now, Article 145 clearly states that any presidential reference made under Article 143 to the Supreme Court, well, the Supreme Court will give its opinion by constituting a 5-judge bench. A 5-judge bench will be constituted, which will give its advisory opinion to the president. This 5-judge compulsion is mentioned in Article 145. So, first statement is correct. Now, the Supreme Court has the authority to decline giving its opinion. If the president makes a presidential reference to the Supreme Court and Supreme Court says, no, we are not going to give our opinion, is that valid? Can Supreme Court do so? Yes, Supreme Court can do such a thing. They can decline giving their opinion. Absolutely correct. Can Supreme Court overturn its previous judgment through this advisory jurisdiction? Absolutely not. Okay, Supreme Court will only give its opinion or its advice. It won't overturn its previous judgment through this. So 1 and 2 only, the answer is A. And with that, we conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. And I hope it has added value to your preparation. But like I say this every time, it will add more value if you revise this lecture as well. And by revision, I mean spending another 5 to 10 minutes taking a look at written detailed solutions to each and every MCQ we just discussed. These solutions can be found in our notes. It will hardly take 5 to 10 minutes of your time, but do this, okay? Now, these notes are available on our Telegram platform, and the link to our Telegram channel is provided in the comment section just below this video. Okay? And on that note, I'll be signing off with the promise of seeing you again with another set of MCQs. Thank you, everyone.